Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Total Podcast with me, your host, Phil Scott. On today's episode of the Total Podcast, I have a very, very special guest. She has written a very special series of children's books. It is called Dogfish Tales, and there are five books in the series. And before I go any further, I want to go down the list of books that she's written for the series. So she has Dogfish Saves the Ocean. Dogfish Stands Up to Bullying, Dogfish Just Be You, Dogfish and the Gift of Inclusion, and Dogfish and the Goodbye Wave. So, without further delay, let's bring in our guest. Her name is Rita Reed. Rita, thank you so very much for coming on the podcast today. I truly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Phil, for having me. I really appreciate being here. And yeah, it's kind of surreal when I hear you say, the books that I've written. It's so interesting, how it all came together. I actually had a dream about Dogfish about, well over 20 years ago. And I wrote it down, and then you kind of forgot about it. And then later, I obviously put it in my phone and in my notes. Didn't think much about it again. I'll keep track sometimes of some of my dreams if they're really vivid, and I just they really are super impactful. And this was one of them. And so when I came up with the first book, it was when my daughter was going to school. She was at the University of Boulder, and I was waiting for her to come back from one of her classes. And she likes to draw just like I do. So she had all of her pen, paper, and everything in the corner, and I was just going through my notes, and I read about the dream, and I thought, oh my goodness, I forgot all about that. So, I thought, I think I'm ready to do something with this now. So I started to draw what Dogfish looked like. And so I had kind of three similar versions of him. Some were, they were slightly different. And when she came back to her apartment, I showed them to her, and she said, "Mom, you have to write that book because I've been saying for a long time I want to write children's books." And because when I was little, I would always sketch these animals, and if you can kind of see they have somewhat similar looks, all my characters. And so I used to draw, I could draw anything. They all kind of had the same face. I would draw a dinosaur or a frog or whatever. And so I was inspired by being in Boulder because they're very conscious of recycling. Everywhere, every corner, there was a recycling can, and I was impressed by that because it was 2019, and she said, "Mom, you've got to stop using plastic bottles." And I was like, "You are right." And so I thought that's what I'm going to write my first book about. I was very impressed with that. How Boulder was so conscious of that. And so that's where my first book came from. And I live in the LA area, so I decided he lives in the Santa Monica Bay. So that's his home. And so that's where the first book came from.
Now, tell me too, um, I was reading it in one of the books that your dad
Mm.
inspired your love of sea life. And so tell us about that.
100%. Yes. Yeah. There's so many things that come into play, that have inspired me to write the stories and 1,000%. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes,
You're
that's on
welcome.
my website. Um, yes, he was a scuba diver back in the 60s when it was really just an up and coming thing. There were not very many scuba diver. It was an unusual thing to do, but my dad was such an adventure seeker. He was amazing. I just adored my dad. He did everything. He played tennis. He was a ski instructor. He would fish and hunt. He was always gone on, going here and there, and he would scuba dive, and he would bring back lobsters, scallops, all kinds, and all these wonderful stories of the ocean. I remember one time he drove this big Cadillac, and the trunk was huge. So he opened up the trunk, and in it was oh my goodness, what kind of a fish was it? Huge a halibut.
Wow.
And, like both there, it just looked so strange to me. Both eyes were on one side. And I was like, ah. And he goes, yeah. He goes, we're having that for dinner. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And so all the neighbor kids would just thought it was the strangest thing because I'd say, "Oh my gosh, we had scallops and they were delicious." And they'd be like, "Scallops, what are those?" And so that was my life with my dad. He would tell me all these great stories about scuba diving and how I remember him saying he saw a when on the other side of Catalina. He saw this gigantic octopus, and
Wow.
he said it was not just big. He said it was huge. He said I was swimming by a rock, and I saw the rock was moving, and he was not afraid of much. And he made that comment, and I was just like, oh my goodness. And sharks and whales, how there would be so many of them overhead that it would all of a sudden it would just go dark where he was, and he couldn't see, and it was scary, and just seals and all the beautiful wildlife that we have out here in the ocean. It just amazes me. And we used to watch Jacques Cousteau. We never missed those episodes. And so, yes, he definitely inspired me uh, to write, about the ocean for sure.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So
Mhm.
tell me, now that you've gone through what inspired you to write it, what was the process actually like trying to write the book and then publish it and then find an illustrator? Because that takes a lot of effort and a lot of different things going on to get all that in place.
Yes. Well, I didn't know where to start. I just wrote it. I just wrote the book and I thought, you know what? I can illustrate. I'm going to illustrate it myself. I had no idea. And so I actually drew all the pictures and I had it all laid out, and it was like a book just stapled together, and I said, okay, I've got this. And then I didn't know what the next step would be. So I had somebody that I knew had published a book, so I was asking her about what to do. And so she suggested, a couple publishers, and I just didn't want to just dive in without really looking into it myself. And I ended up finding this wonderful group of women. It's called My Word Publishing, and I retain all the rights. And they charge for each thing separately. And that worked out really well for me because I didn't want to give up any portion of my rights. And
Right.
because I love Dogfish, he's like my baby. And so, I just keep putting one step in front of the other. And I just, when something comes to mind, I'll think, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. So it's just grown, and I just keep going, and so I had written this first book, and my 26-year-old son he's my biggest fan. Well, he and my daughter and my husband has been amazing. He's just been so supportive and just so lovely through this whole thing. And I'm just so grateful for him because he's like, yeah, you should do it. You can do that. You can do anything. And he really believes in me. And he's definitely one of my biggest fans. So I'm very grateful for him. Um, but my son saw this, and then sadly, I won't get into it because I don't want to lose it on the show, but he passed away in 2020. And so I was inspired. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I was inspired to write my next book, Dogfish Stands Up to Bullying, because he was just such a sensitive, beautiful, bright soul and just an angel on earth. And he had been through a lot of a lot of bullying, and when in his younger years. And I decided I wanted to write books that would help children to talk about their feelings. And I wanted these to be conversation starters with whoever's reading the book to the child so that they can then say, well, you know, have you experienced this or whatever, just so they can express their feelings. I think that a lot of times they're just children just have little voices and they don't know how to express themselves. And I think I think these books are, I think children's books in general are, well, obviously so important for children to read, just, in life. They need to start young. And I think if we start them young, they will continue for their with their love of books. But so the second one, I don't. Did you get a chance to read it? I don't
Yeah,
know.
and I was reading it today, and actually, I love the way it's like there's a cycle, and I
Mm,
love the way you did that. So there's like this one character's being bullied, and then come to find out there's a bully of that character. And you're like, whoa! I mean, this
uh-huh.
stuff just snowballs,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
that's huge because that happens. That
Yeah.
absolutely happens.
hmm
So I love the way
Well,
you did that.
oh, thank you. I I found out that there were actually pink dolphins in the Amazon River. So I thought I need to use that character. This is going to be one of my characters for sure. And so in each book, he will travel to a different location. He's the adventurer, like my dad. And so and I will show in a very not too detailed map, but it just basically shows where he goes. And so, he goes from Santa Monica through the Panama Canal and up the river, and where he attends his first day at Rainforest Elementary, and he meets Pink Dolphin. And yes, it's a book that shows that most times bullies are being bullied. And so that it shows, it'll help children kind of understand, have a little compassion for them, but also just kind of to understand, that can be how it happens. And so, yeah, so they're encouraged to talk to a trusted adult. And so they talk to the teacher, and then, yeah, it kind of goes from there. So that, yeah,
Well, I just
I
thought that
love,
was brilliant. I just thought that was brilliant the way you did that. And
oh,
then the following book, The Just Be You,
mm,
I thought that was very cute because you're encouraging Dogfish. Dogfish is always reminded to be who Dogfish is. He
mm.
wants to be all these other characters and he sees all these other things, but Dogfish is always reminded it's okay to be yourself. You're unique and there's something special you have to offer the world.
Exactly, exactly. And did you read in the beginning? These words were words that my son wrote to my daughter at her graduation party from Boulder. And I asked everybody, I said, just write words of wisdom or some words that you would like to share with Rachel. And he wrote, never doubt yourself and keep moving forward. You have so much to offer the world. And those words carried us through, after he passed. And I just thought they were so impactful that I had to use them in a book. And so, I think all children want to emulate other children. They wish they looked like somebody else, or they wish they could play sports like somebody else. And, we're not going to be great at everything, but we are great at being ourselves. We're
Right.
perfect just the way we are. And so, yeah, so this is Aaron's book. Those are
Oh,
his words. Yeah, he really inspired all of them in different ways, and he will continue to do so. But my next book, Dogfish and the Gift of Inclusion,
Yes.
this one was really inspired by two wonderful authors. I am so blessed to know so many fantastic, amazing, uh, lovely authors through through Instagram, really. We're part of an author community, and
Yes.
they are so supportive and loving and kind. And it's just been a really a wonderful, surprising thing that I kind of fell into. But Janessa, who you have had on
Oh,
your show,
yeah, she is
she's
awesome.
wonderful. I love
Yes.
her. And Rebecca Rubin Seligson, and she lives in Israel, and she has the Wheel Illustrated series, and they both of these wonderful authors really encouraged and inspired me to write this book. And so the main character, Ollie, Wally, Ollie, there's Ollie too, Wally the whalefish, which I, he lives in Cabo. So Dogfish gets an invitation to go to Cabo San Lucas, which is where this one takes place. That's an easy trip for him. And uh, I love these beautiful animals. I want to swim with them. I don't scuba dive because the idea scares me,
Mhm.
oddly enough. Everybody says, "Why don't you scuba dive like your dad?" And I don't know. It's kind of a little scary to be. I mean, I used to swim in the ocean all the time. When I was a kid, we would go to the beach all the time. I was
Mhm.
with the neighbors. I was just always there. And I would be out there swimming. I would go way out there by myself. And
Wow.
I think now, oh my goodness, I would never let my children do that. Plus now I can see you see the drone footage, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of sharks out there.
Oh yeah,
You know?
lots.
I mean, they don't want to hurt us. But it's funny to think about it now as an adult, and after being a parent, become a little protective. But yeah, so he goes down to Cabo San Lucas where he meets a lot of his friends, and they're all special and wonderful. And one of them is Ollie the octopus, and they can't find him. So everybody has their own gifts, and so anyway, they try to. It was fun doing the little foods. They try to encourage him to come out with little snacks with lots of worms and gross things, and with puzzles because, of course, octopus. They love puzzles. And then the one who helps them is Crab, who is super smart, and he has an AAC device. And he says, Ollie, Ollie, oxen free, come out, wherever you are. And so then finally he comes out, and they can have the party because they can't have a party unless everyone is there. And this one is Together We Are a Beautiful Song. Each note is important. We all belong.
Oh,
And so I had a lot of fun writing this one. It was, it was, and I have so much fun with all the colors, and in each all the characters, and it's a lot of fun for me.
now how did you transition from that book to the last one?
Well, as we were chatting just a little bit before, I have been through, as I'm sure all of us have been through, a lot of grief in our lives. And when I was a child, uh, I had a younger brother, and he was in my room. I was about 8, and he was about 3 months old. And he was like my baby. I used to carry him everywhere, and I just, adored him. And one morning I woke up, my dad came in to check on him, and he was I woke up and I saw him. He was on the floor giving him mouth-to-mouth
Oh
resuscitation,
no.
and so they left, and my brother passed away. Um, I mean, they when they took him to the hospital, they didn't come back. So I never, and after that, we never talked about it. After that moment, we never talked about my brother again. And as a child, I didn't know, I wasn't going to bring it up, but it was something that was just a very difficult conversation. And it is a difficult conversation. Um, but and when I got older, I was about 20 or 21, and I was working at this one place, and one of the women said to me, "Hey, Rita, I've got this women's group. Why don't you come on over and just check it out?" And I was like, "Okay." I had no idea what it was, and it was a women's therapy group. And so I didn't say anything for like the first 3 weeks or so, and then one of the women in one of the sessions started talking about the loss of a child, and all of a sudden I just realized it just came out of my mouth when it was my turn to speak, that I thought it was my fault that he
Oh
passed.
wow.
And so that never left me, the how strong the feelings can be inside a child, and they have no idea, you know? And so, and then of course, through life, the loss of many pets, and family members, and of course my son, the biggest of all. And then my father passed 6 months after that, and then I just lost my mom last year. So I always had this in my mind that after Aaron passed, that I wanted to write a book about grief, and but not, I didn't want to label it with that word. I just wanted to introduce the idea of the circle of life, and that, it's part of life. And so I thought it was really important to write this book, because I want to start the conversations. I want, parents or anybody, whoever's reading the story to children, to be able to talk about it, because they will experience the loss of, most likely, it could be a goldfish, and I think it's very healthy to start conversations and talk about their feelings. So, yeah, so this one, he goes to Hawaii, and did you get to read this one?
No, that's the one I
Oh,
didn't
oh,
get to.
okay. So he goes to Hawaii, and he goes for the summer to meet his cousin Milo and hang out with him for the summer. And Milo has a pet hermit crab named Hula, and she dances the hula, and she's really cute. And so they have a wonderful summer. And then at the end of the summer, she's tired, she passes away, and Milo is just heartbroken. And so through this story, we talk about how it's good to talk about your feelings, and different ways that you can honor, just, and talk about stories about the person who's passed, and just it just is part of life. And so anyway, but it doesn't end on a sad note. Um, they they also do a memory box. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping around. And I think that for me, that was, that kind of thing, having treasured things around, items of the person, is very, helps your heart. And so, and they do a swim out because they're in Hawaii. I don't know if you're familiar with that. So
Yes.
yeah, they, to honor the person who's passed, they're in a circle, and then they'll throw flowers out and talk about their loved ones. And so anyway, at the end of the day, they return back home, and they see something that I don't know if I should spoil it. I don't know, but there's a happy ending.
Oh,
There's, well, I'll tell you. She has an egg. She left an egg.
oh,
And so
wow.
there's a little baby to love at the
Oh,
end. So, to kind of show that, you know, we can open our hearts, and there's always somebody to love, to share love with, whether it, a new pet, or, that the circle of life continues. So
Well,
that was how that one
well,
went.
I think that's very relevant. And I think it's awesome that you did that because I've lost a sibling too. I lost an older brother.
Mm,
And it's not it's not an easy thing to deal with no matter what age you are.
mm,
And so I think it's just awesome that you wrote this book and you're going to help a lot of people and even adults, I think, who read it
mm,
just learn to grieve and to process what they're feeling. I mean, that's huge. And having gone through everything you've gone through yourself, I mean, hey, you know what you're feeling, what people are feeling, and I think this is just an awesome idea that you had for this book. So
Well, thank
kudos to you, Rita.
thank you so much. Yeah, I just want to put love and kindness and uh, good things out into the world, and and to help children. Like I said, that's my focus, is to help children have a voice, to have conversations about tough things.
Now, Rita, do you plan on writing more books in the Dogfish series?
I do. He's
Yay.
going to go a lot of places. Yeah. Yeah. So I can't really talk about anything, but I have so many ideas, and I love storytelling. I just find such joy in that. But I do also have to say, so I do uh the characters are my characters that I come up with, and I'll draw. I don't really go into great detail anymore because I have a fantastic illustrator. He's amazing.
I was going to
And,
ask you
and I
about
didn't
him
even
too.
I didn't even tell you about him. So I went on this app. It's called Fiverr, to find
Yes.
an illustrator after I talked to My Word Publishing, and you know, they said, "Well, who's your illustrator?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know." And they said, "Well, go on Fiverr, place to start, see who you find." And so there are so many talented illustrators there, and I saw this one person had I saw somewhere on his file that he had done this beautiful mural, and it's in Venice, California. So
Wow.
very close to me, same time zone, which was important to me. And so I called him, and we were talking, and I told him about my character and my idea for my first book, and he said, "Oh, yeah, he said, I've been on many beach cleanups," and he said, "It's not just the plastic, it's the microplastics." And I was like, "You're my guy." So, and I loved his work. The things that I saw, he's worked for Disney and Pixar and Family Guy, Simpsons. He's done a lot of work, and he's so talented, and he just brings my characters to life, and I just love him. He's fantastic.
That's
So
awesome. Yeah,
gotta,
someone was telling me about that app. A guest that I had on. She was recently. She told me about Fiverr, and I found some very interesting people on there. So that's a good resource.
oh yes, definitely, definitely. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask you a couple of things before you go. Okay, first of all, if you had one quick bit of advice for someone who was thinking about writing their own books, what would that be?
Retain your rights, um, research, and make sure that who you're dealing with is uh, really great, and somebody that is going to match y- you and the way you want to do things. And gosh, don't stop. Just just keep going. You have so much to offer the world.
Yes.
Everybody has their own beautiful story. And I'm amazed by all the fantastic authors that are out there. And I'll read their stories and just think, oh, That's just so beautiful. And everybody has their own style, so just just be you, be yourself, be true to yourself and don't stop. Just go for it.
Well, I've been blessed to have a lot of awesome authors. Janice, like you were saying,
Oh yeah.
Erin Murphy. I mean,
Mhm.
just the list just
Oh
goes
yeah.
on
Oh
and
gosh,
on.
I love her. I just
She,
met with her. She flies for United.
that's
And
right.
so she was here in LA and we met and we had so much fun. I just love her. Yeah,
That's
she's great.
awesome. Wow. Well, it's just, you're right. Instagram is such a huge and amazing resource to meet other
Hmm.
authors. I mean, that's how
Hmm.
I found a lot of my authors, as guests for my podcast because I
Hmm.
found them there, and it's just,
Oh, oh, they're lovely.
yeah, they're amazing. Just independent book writers, authors that just get their stuff out there. I mean, it's just a huge community. I mean, I don't think people realize how big it is.
Yes, yes, yes. And I would like to mention Discover Kids Books is a great account to go on because uh, they're just fantastic. Sam and Amy run that, and it is a wealth of information, and they're so lovely and so helpful. And also Disability Book Week through my Gift of Inclusion book. I'm involved with them. And again, it's too many authors to name, but they're so fantastic. And these are, I just want to say, if you, it's at disability.book.week. And then on also something else I did with my first three books, and I am in the process of doing my current last two books, and that is having them included in on the DCMP app and website, and that's described in caption media program. I just want to say his name, Richard Ryman, and he is the audiobook wizard. And what he does is he takes my books and reads them, and then has descriptive text so that deaf children can read the book, and also the descriptive text is written, and then it's also in sign language, and then and it's also great for children who have learning disabilities because then they can read it, they can hear it, they can see it, and if they know sign language, it's fantastic. So Richard is doing my other two books, and so all of them will be on the DCMP website, and I'm very proud of that. I want to make my books accessible to everyone.
That's terrific.
Mhm.
Now, quickly, one more thing before you go quickly. Um, your website, you have a website, social media. How can people find you on the internet?
Yes. Well, I'm on Instagram. I'm underscore Rita underscore Reed underscore. So that's kind of easy. And then my website is www dogfishtales.com.
All
So
right.
Dogfish Tales is all together. Hmm.
All right. Well, Rita, I'm so honored to have you on the show. What a wonderful series of books. Very inspiring and straight from the heart. And I thank you so very much for doing the podcast today. It's been a blessing and an honor to have you on. So thank you so
Well,
much. And I'd like to do it again because there's
okay.
more things I wanted to ask you. So I'd love to have you on again.
Oh, I'm sorry. I probably talked too much.
No, no, this has just been amazing. No, it was awesome. Like I said, I have more to ask. This has just been terrific.
Oh, good. Well, it was so much fun. And thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you.
You're welcome. And thank
Thank
you,
you.
Rita. Thank you
All
so
right.
very much. And
Okay.
all right. With
We'll
with
talk to you
that,
again.
you got it. And
Okay.
with that, everybody, that is the end of this episode of the Total Podcast with me, your host, Phil Scott. Everyone stay safe, be careful out there, take care of one another, and we will talk again soon.